We're going to talk motorcycle riding, one of my favorite things in the world. I'm here with Jay Bock, Motorcycle Safety Administrator for the Office of Traffic Safety. That's a pretty good title, man.
It sounds really impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I can really support that, though.
Lifelong rider, I'm guessing, huh?
I am. I've been riding for quite a while.
Yeah, I've been riding my whole life as well. I started on dirt bikes when I was 9 years old. I'll never forget it. I love it.
Yeah, I got my license shortly after high school against the wishes of my mother.
Yeah, right.
And had to take a little hiatus once I had a family and started that. I wasn't smart enough to read the marriage license because somewhere in there it said that you need to get rid of this bike. So now I read everything, and fortunately my wife let me have another one a little later on. So
yeah.
That was great.
Well, I'll tell you, it's that time of year where people are getting their bikes. I was talking to actually a lady at Bell Bank yesterday, and she said, I got my bike out today, and of course it's raining right now. So people are getting out on the roads. I'm one of those people. I've been out quite a bit already. I'm sure you've been out quite a bit too.
I usually am, but it's been a little bit busy for me this time around, so haven't had that opportunity. It's sitting in my garage right in front of my vehicle, and it's just screaming at me. So It's on the list here.
Every year I say, why didn't I ride more? Not this year, man. This year I'm getting out more. A lot of big changes, a lot of things going on in the world of motorcycle riding this year. And of course, we're going to talk about lane splitting and all that momentarily. But before we even go there, let me ask you, for somebody who maybe this is their first year getting on a motorcycle and getting out, they've gotten their license, they got a new bike, they're super excited, or even somebody who's relatively skilled, what is one thing you tell everybody at the very beginning of every season?
I really try to emphasize to people to invest in themselves for the skill set that they need to best ride that motorcycle. Whether that's a training course, whether that's experience, a combination of both. We have courses in our program for beginners that end up in endorsements. We have intermediate classes and advanced classes and expert classes, and I promise you that your skill set will improve. You will get a return on whatever that is. And it really is an intimate experience with your motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I have found that if you get on that and you are not confident about it, it can eat you up. So best to get that skill set to the level that you want.
I got to tell you, I took the course last year, and I went in thinking, so I've been riding my whole life. I raced motocross for a while, and I felt like a fish out of water. I learned so much. In fact, I learned that I was wrong about a lot of things I thought I knew. Very beneficial.
When I had the opportunity to become a coach and teach for the program in the state, I thought I was a pretty good rider. And, I started out and it's like, I need to know this and I need to know that. And then after a while, I just didn't say a word and I absorbed it all. And I learned as much from my students and the people I worked with. It's a mental game. It's not just a physical game. It's a mental game.
Yeah.
And they don't operate the same as cars. It does require a different skill set. To the point the state of Minnesota has said, if you want to ride one, you need a separate license to do so.
Yeah, yeah. I do want to say this as well. I learned a lot, but it was fun. I was with fellow riders on a nice day, learning skills that, I thought I knew, but I didn't know well enough, and actually doing some things that were pretty challenging. So overall, I had fun on my motorcycle. What else is there?
Yeah, I'm walking the street, I'm in a store, somebody comes up to me, start talking, and I cannot place them. And it's like, how do I know this person? And then all of a sudden, did you ride your bike in today? And then boom, right away, they're in one of the classes.
Yeah.
So that connection is real, and it's pretty lasting too, as far as the people that you work with, the people you teach with, and the people that are in your classes.
Yeah, the correct way to brake, the correct way to take a curve, the correct way to roll on the throttle, all that stuff. Very beneficial. And again, especially at the beginning of the season, if you're getting out again, I would highly encourage you to do it. How would somebody get signed up for one of these classes?
Well, the easiest way to do it is to go to motorcyclesafety.org and type that right into the browser. Don't put it in the search engine. Put it right into the browser. You come up to the Department of Public Safety website. And from there, you can click on a link that says training courses. And then there's another link that takes you to a map. It's yellow to all of our sites, which is just a map of Minnesota. You can click on any of those and register right from that click.
It's easy. Yeah, and it's well worth your time. And also I have to tell you, learning to ride and everything like that, but so many things that I learned as a motorist, as somebody driving alongside motorcyclists as well, that I had either never been told or forgotten as well. So beneficial in a lot of ways. What do you say to people out there just driving along, outside of course, just be aware motorcyclists are out there? Is there something you would say to the casual driver?
Yeah, I would kind of put it in the same category as school buses. So Every year they come out, we know they're there. I mean, it's not news to us, but boom, all of a sudden school starts are all over the place. The swing arm comes out. You got to stop. Same thing holds true now. May is Safety Awareness Month for motorcycling. So we're out there. Get acclimated to us. Please check those mirrors. Look around that car of yours. And I'm also gonna discuss this on the motorcyclist side too, and say you need to be aware. Yeah. If we want the motorists around us to be aware of us, we need to be aware of them, and we need to ride safe as much as they do. And there's enough road space for all of us. So.
Yeah, agreed. What you just said is so key. You got obviously motorcycle training, protective gear. We know the rules, but we also know what maybe your skill level is and what the right thing to do is. But awareness yourself, and obviously don't ride impaired in any way. We know that seems common sense. Hopefully it is for everybody. But just be aware, because you have to be on the lookout for people. Maybe you're in somebody's blind spot. Don't do silly things. They're going to put yourself in the bad spot.
I hear a lot of stories about, it wasn't my fault. And I agree with that. I understand that. But it doesn't change the ambulance ride, right?
That's right.
So my biggest concern on my motorcycle is usually I live in a more rural area is wildlife. Hopefully I can manage another driver.
Yeah.
If it's an intersection and I'm paying attention, if I need to slow down quicker, I can try to make adjustments for that. But, the deer is pretty random. All of a sudden, boom, there it is.
There it is. And it's, in the morning and at night, there's nothing better than the sun going down, but you better keep your head on a swivel. Am I right?
Agreed.
Yeah, they're out there. I tell you, you see the eyes or you see something kind of on the side of the road, and you're like, yeah, it's a good reminder. But we've all seen that. Keep your head on a swivel. Make sure you're on the lookout. There's no doubt about that. We're talking so much about being safe and about keeping your head on a swivel and making sure that you're in the right spot, wearing even the right safety gear as well. How has it been, if you don't mind me bringing up kind of a delicate subject, as far as rider safety and fatalities and such like that? Are we seeing people getting better at riding, getting smarter at riding, or are we seeing people being more reckless?
Well, the issues surrounding safety and the fatality numbers have been the same, and I wish I had the smoking gun that I could just tell everybody to do this. But the reality is, as you've already mentioned, impaired is an issue. We need to expand that definition of impaired. We've got other substances, we've got alcohol, of course, and everything else. So be smart on the motorcycle. I could also expand impaired to being distracted. It's very similar, whether that's a fatigue issue on the motorcycle. If I'm going to go back to a skill set, I would really emphasize this, though. I would say that you need to know how to stop that bike, and you need to know how to stop it well. A lot of the stats that come back in some of these crashes is the motorcycle could have stopped quicker if application would have been a little stronger. And the same thing with cornering. Half the fatalities are in single motorcycle crashes involving just a motorcyclist, and the vast majority of those are in corners. So you got to have a skill set, right? If the sign says 40 miles an hour around the corner, you can do that in your car easy. You should be able to do it in your cycle too. So get better at it. Just get better at it. I mentioned before, and I'll just say it again, invest in yourself. By doing so, you invest in your family, you invest in your spouse, you invest in your loved ones. So enjoy that ride, whether that's a training course, whether that's experience, or hopefully a combination of the two. I just really encourage people to do that.
I love riding a motorcycle. I don't ever want to scare anybody off, but I do think you're right. It's time we all acknowledge that we're out there with surrounded by a lot of things that can be very, very dangerous to us, and we have to be cognizant of that. Let me ask you, off the beaten map, I've always wondered this question, and I probably did get it answered in my skill test, but I'm going to ask you for people out there who perhaps have never heard this. When you're riding with someone else, what is the proper etiquette about as far as where you're supposed to line up, and if it's two people? Should it be nose to front? Should it be side to side? What is the proper etiquette for that?
Well, the proper etiquette is usually staggered.
Yeah.
If it's slow-moving traffic, for example, you come to a stoplight. They tend to be two abreast. You can get more motorcycles through a stoplight if there's two abreast, so rather than staggering them. It's important to note, though, that if you're going to do that, you need to be riding together. You can't infringe on someone else's lane. But going around the corners, staggered, they're usually like a second apart, which means that the cycle that's directly behind you is 2 seconds away. That's a smart way to do it. It's a very manageable way to do it. And it's one of the better ways to do it to negotiate a corner. because then you end up in single file going around the corner. And it doesn't matter what path of travel you take through the quarter, whether you stay in the middle, you go outside, you come inside, you end outside, you end inside. All of that's manageable with that staggered formation.
I want to go back one more time, though, to the training courses you mentioned, and I want to make sure I emphasize this because there are probably people listening who are wondering. You said something about taking a class and actually getting qualified for your license. That's a thing.
Correct. So if you are over 18 and you get your permit and you come to our course with a permit, now this is the basic rider course, and you're successful in the evaluation at the end of the course, we will stamp your permit, and then you can take that to the local DMV, pay your X dollars, whatever that happens to be, and you'll end up with an endorsement on your motorcycle.
What if you're somebody who doesn't yet have a bike but wants to get their license?
We have motorcycles in the class, so we have, I don't know, in times gone by, we've had motorcycles up to a 300cc. I think currently the biggest bikes we have are 250s. We even have little 125s, so we try to have a diverse enough fleet to meet everybody, size-wise, height-wise, all of that. This sport isn't necessarily for anybody, so sometimes it's best to make that investment, decide if you like it.
Yeah.
And most people do like it, but most people also understand after going through the course some of the limitations that they may have and try to ride within those. Better rider, not as good a rider, experienced rider, you know what? Stay within your skill set and you're fine.
Yeah.
Don't jump on that 1,200-mile motorcycle ride the day after you get your license. Don't hop on a bike and go to the Sturgis the first time after you get your license. But stick with it, and you'll meet those goals promised.
Yeah, absolutely. The more miles you put on, the better you're going to get, and the more skilled you're going to get, and the more confident you're going to get. Confidence is a good thing. Not overconfidence, but confidence. What if I don't have a helmet, by the way?
Well, if you don't have a helmet, we have some helmets that are available, but we're pretty limited on sizes.
Okay.
So we really encourage people to bring a helmet with them. So then we know that it fits better and it's their helmet. It's very uncomfortable to have 2XL head and try to fit it into a medium helmet.
Yeah. I don't know why he's looking at me when he says 2XL head, but yeah, you're exactly right. That's exactly right. All right, let's talk about the big news, though. Tell me about the new law, the lane splitting. Can you break that down for me for people who are wondering about the rules, whether you're a rider or a driver?
Okay, so we'll start with the permissions, and the big thing there is July 1st. The law that is currently on the book starts on the 1st of July, and it states that a motorcyclist can split between two lanes of traffic going in the same direction. If the traffic is moving, they cannot exceed 25 miles an hour. So once the traffic hits 25 miles an hour, the motorcyclist needs to go back to a lane assignment. So that's referred to as splitting. Sometimes these definitions get confusing. The next one is filtering. Filtering is similar in terms of the two lanes of traffic, but traffic has to be stopped. And at that point, the motorcyclist can go 15 miles an hour. A couple things to note on that. The motorist cannot intentionally block or impede any kind of lane that a motorcyclist could utilize. Okay? Having said that, though, it's the motorcyclist's responsibility to make sure that they have enough room to go. And if you're dealing with, a wide load on this side and a semi on that side, you're going to need to wait. Just wait your turn, and then when things spread out a little bit, you'll be able to negotiate from there, and more power to you. So the safety angle needs to be accepted by the motorcycle. And the motorist needs to understand that they have those permissions. They are legal. They're not doing anything that's wrong. So traffic needs to flow.
Right.
Some other things that I've heard people talk about, like roundabouts and what about construction zones and things of that nature. And it's not specifically mentioned. So I'm going to go back to the motorcyclist managing their own safety and making sure that they can navigate that stuff with purpose and not, if the motorist is prohibited, and they should be, from impeding the motorcyclist, then the opposite is true too.
Right. I hear what you're saying, and I know the reason we're making sure we're specific about this stuff is because you're going to have drivers who are upset, not knowing perhaps the rule or not liking the rule. As long as the motorcyclists are following the rules, they're allowed to do it. And motorcyclists, you've got to follow the rules. Follow the speed limit rule. Obey and know the law. That way we can all cooperate and this can work out well because it's great ideas if done properly.
I agree with all of that. It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Right? There's some growing pains here, and it's going to be new to some people. First time I was in California and I experienced it, I was just surprised. I wasn't angry. I just was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so as that becomes more and more common, it'll become more and more accepted. And if you have a concern, and we understand the concern, and I get those phone calls all the time.
I'm sure.
Consider being a motorcyclist.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to do this. If that's not your comfort level, if you've got a big bagger, right? Maybe you're pulling a trailer and you got a passenger on there. Maybe you're saying, nope, I'm just going to sit here and take my time. I got a liquid cooled. I'm not under any kind of duress. If I was in my car, I'd be sitting there.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't push the envelope. Be smart about the decisions you make and understand the consequences.
For sure. Yeah, if they don't see you, they don't see you. You have to be ready for that. There's no doubt. And again, I've had a lot of people talk to me about this because when you talked about California, it sprung to mind. I've been out there and I've seen the guy go by at 70, and that's not legal. That's not what we're talking about. So no, that is not what has been passed. That is not right, and do not do that. But again, I think the other question I get from people so much is, why is this happening? Why is the law? It's going to help traffic, right?
Well, I think there's a lot of information, and Minnesota is only one of 6 states that is doing this.
Wow.
And we believe in the process, and we're going to see how this shakes out because there isn't a lot of information on it. There's a lot of information from other sources in different countries, and I think that's the bedrock of where we started with this. But I don't know how much that fits into the U.S. roadways and the spaces that we have and the speeds that we drive and the size of our motorcycle. So I don't want to call it an experiment because that's not fair to anybody. But in terms of the intent, let's track with the intent.
For sure.
The intent is safety. The intent is less dense on the freeway, getting people out of the way. Some people, if there's a motorcycle following them, they kind of slow down, let the motorcycle go around because they just don't want to have to deal with it. So this gets us out of the picture.
Great. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting and fun summer. Let's all just follow the rules, do the right thing, and everything can be changed and everything can be altered to fit what we see as actually working and not working. Right? I mean, everything can be challenged and altered in a way that actually works.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Absolutely. So we're ready to go riding. I'm ready to go riding. What's your favorite ride in all of Minnesota?
Going around Mille Lacs Lake.
Yeah.
Except when the mayflies are out.
Oh, my goodness. I had a problem with the mayflies myself. I'm not going to lie to you. Luckily, I had my helmet on. Can you imagine if I did not have my helmet? Yes, right. Yes.
And I'm one of those people that I need to go somewhere. I take my cycle.
Yeah.
Some people hop on it and it's like a snowmobile. They're going on an excursion. They're going to a destination. They're going to meet up with some friends or something. That's great. I'm a commuter. I want to go from here to there, and I take the cycle to do it.
Sure.
Packing the bags and jumping on it and going somewhere. That's a lot of fun. Most people do that in groups for obvious reasons. And putting the miles on and enjoying the scenery. Every state has its picturesque areas.
Yeah.
So that is a lot of fun.
It is.
And you know what? It's a lot of fun jumping on the cycle in the morning, going to work, and you're 15 minutes to closing time, and the first thing pops in your head is, I get to ride my bike home.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And I'll tell you what I love so much about it, and this is something whenever somebody asks me, what's the number one thing you love about riding a motorcycle? Nobody can call me. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be texting you back. I'm on my bicycle, on my motorcycle. I'm not going to stop and get fast food. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I am on my bike. I'm enjoying the world. I'm enjoying being out there and seeing things and feeling that wind on my body and feeling the freedom of being out there. I just love it. I love, and I think that's the word I should have just used and stopped right there. I love the freedom of being on a motorcycle. Just love it. If you're looking for more information, motorcyclesafety.org for all the information. Take a training course and get out there and go riding. And if you are a rider, it's a good time for a refresher. Let's all just let's obey the rules, let's share the roads, and let's have a good time.
Agreed.